Do you believe in God?
Yes.
Which God do you believe in?
I'm Catholic.
You believe Jesus is God? How can a man be God?
I don't want to talk about religion.
I mean, we just can educate each other.
Understand?
Okay, I will show you something. See this video and tell me what do you think about it.
Christianity says that Jesus sacrificed himself and died for the sins of mankind. Why is this belief wrong?
You say that the Bible and the Torah have been changed. This is not a simple claim for Christians. Can you prove it?
As a Muslim, you also believe that Jesus was born without a father and that he brought dead people back to life. These are very extraordinary things. Aren't they enough reasons to call him a deity? Assalamu alaikum, Brother Muhammad Hijab. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Today in this cross-examination concept, we will ask some frequently asked questions about Christianity. We are not Christians, of course, but we convey their difficult questions so that the truth can come out. But be careful. This is not Speaker's Corner. We ask more serious and difficult questions. If you're ready, let's begin.
Yes, I am ready.
Christians believe that Jesus is God, but Islam accepts him as a prophet. Is Jesus really mentioned in the Bible as God, or is he described as how Islam says about him?
So we don't believe that the Bible is authoritative. We believe that there are remnants of truth in it, but that has been corrupted and changed. We don't believe that the Bible that we have today is something which is an authority from that perspective, and that can be seen by different scholarly authorities comparing and contrasting the different Gospels. The Gospel of John, for example, seems to have a higher Christology than other Gospels. There are some indications from other Gospel writers that Jesus might be divine, but Jesus himself doesn't come across as saying that at all, in fact, in the Gospels. But be that as it may, we don't really care, even if he did come and say in the Gospels that he was God, because we don't believe in the authenticity of that document. But we would say, above and beyond all of that, is the fact that Jesus Christ couldn't be God for logical necessity. I mean, it doesn't matter if the Bible said it or any other book said it, because you can't have a man God anyway. You can't have an unlimited, limited being. So it doesn't matter what book said this. It's false. And so I think anyone who knows the definition of God and the definition of Jesus Christ and human being cannot put these two things together, no matter what book said it.
If Jesus didn't call himself a deity, as you say, then how could this belief arise? How could they turn a prophet into a god?
There was clear motivation from the initial Roman Empire when Christianity became a religion in the Roman Empire. In the year, let's say 313, there was Constantine actually made it legal to believe in Christianity, and afterwards he spread Christianity, and other rulers spread Christianity, like Theodosius II and others. You can see a clear historical development in how, for example, the beliefs of the pagans and the polytheistic and pantheistic beliefs of the Romans from Greek mythology incorporated themselves into Christian frameworks. And there was a political motivation for that, which is that Constantine and others wanted to make Christianity a more palatable religion for these people. And so how could it be that Jesus became co-equal and co-eternal as a God in a person, and how could it be that the Holy Spirit had the same status? You can see a clear historical development where that happened from what you call subordinationism until you had the three co-equal, co-eternal gods at the turn of the 4th century. And so how could it be? Well, it could be when you have a strong political authority in the Roman Empire and clear political and sociological motivation, and then when you combine those factors with the evidence that we have from primary source materials, it's pretty clear how that can be.
Christianity says that Jesus sacrificed himself and died for the sins of mankind. Why is this belief wrong?
This belief is wrong on many different grounds, on a very basic logical grounds. If you think about the Christian belief, they're effectively telling us you are born into sin, original sin, because Adam ate from the tree. So you're born into sin because Adam ate from the tree, and then that sin is removed away from you because Jesus died on the cross. So effectively, you're given sin and it's removed from you from two people. All you have to do is believe in this story. Now that seems to me to be an affront to individual responsibility, because the religion of Islam doesn't have it this way. It has it in the way that you are responsible for your own actions. What the religion of Christianity is telling you is you have a sin for no action of your own, and you have that sin removed for no action of your own. So we will say this doesn't make sense. And how could it be that a God anyway dies on the cross? This makes no sense. What does it mean for a God to die on the cross? So all these propositions, no matter how much one wants to say they're historical and they're attested to and there's testimony and whatever the argument on the other side is, frankly, even if that was all the case, it's still logically incoherent, so it's unacceptable, frankly.
As a Muslim, you also believe that Jesus was born without a father and that he brought dead people back to life. These are very extraordinary things. Aren't they enough reasons to call him a deity? After all, Allah gives life and takes life.
I mean, Allah answers that question very directly in chapter 3, verse 52 of the Quran. إِنَّ مَثَلَ عِيسَى عِنْدَ اللَّهِ كَمَثَلِ آدَمَ خَلَقَهُ مِنْ تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ قَالَ لَهُ كُنْ فَيَكُونَ. That certainly the similitude of Jesus is like that of Adam. He created him from dust and he said to him, be, and he was. Because the argument is this, is that if you're saying that Jesus is a God or the Son of God because he didn't have a mother or a father, then surely Adam should be a bigger God because he didn't have a mother or a father. And so if this is the argument, then the argument falls flat on its face on these bases.
But he brings dead people back to life, he cures the blind.
All of that with God's permission. Of course, Allah says, وَبِإِذْنِ. And one could argue that, quite frankly, splitting the sea in the way that Moses did it is more impressive in many ways than curing the blind. Because frankly, splitting the sea, everyone can attest to that. Curing the blind, there could be a degree of conspiracy that could be, like for example, we see now in many of the African countries, someone could say, pretend that you're blind and then I'll cure you. Splitting the sea, frankly, it cuts that, undercuts that in a more meaningful way. So I would say if you're using miracles to try and prove the deity of God, of Jesus Christ, then frankly, you can do the same thing with Moses on a higher level.
You say that the Bible and the Torah have been changed. This is not a simple claim for Christians. Can you prove it?
I mean, to be honest with you, the proof of it is in what you call textual criticism. Now, this has become a field of biblical studies, or a subfield of biblical studies, which now is being taught everywhere in the Western Academy. And there is almost consensus, or in fact there is consensus among scholars of Christianity, not Islam, that there has been change, interpolation and corruption. In fact, this was the name of one of the books of Bruce Metzger, a very famous book that was talking about the corruption of the Bible. So it's something which everyone attests to. And the question is, where is the chain of narration? Where is the link between Jesus and the gospel writers? Because there is a degree of anonymity, and it's anonymous. These people are anonymous. We don't know who they are, and there is no link between them, and there's almost 100 years between them. So much so that it's interesting. E.P. Sanders, who wrote a book called The Historical Figure of Jesus Christ, he said that if you remove the Gospels and you remove the Christian evidence, you're left with almost no evidence of his existence, even Jesus Christ. So you have a lacking of evidence of Jesus Christ's existence, except for that which Tacitus and Josephus says, and Josephus himself, who was a Jewish philosopher, or Jewish historian, was accused, or the interpolations of his works were accused of being put in there anyway. The point is that, quite frankly, we have weak evidence of Christianity, and the preservation mechanism of Christianity has failed, and there's no doubt about that, according to the consensus of all scholars.
Can you also prove that these books have been corrupted from the books themselves, maybe through contradictions?
Absolutely, and that's a very good point, because you'll find that, especially, for example, let's take one of the deepest and most meaningful central tenets of Christianity, the crucifixion, the resurrection. Just look at the accounts of crucifixion in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and compare them with each other, and you'll find a shocking level of contradictions. And not just that, there's contradictions on many different fronts in the Gospels themselves. That's looking at the New Testament. The Old Testament is filled with contradictions. I mean, I'll give you one example because I'm mentioning it. And I read this actually from William Lane Craig, of all people. And he mentioned that, and I'll quote him, in fact, or paraphrase him. He said that if you look at the biblical story in Genesis chapter 1, the very first page of the Bible, you're looking at the very first page of the Bible. And it said that, as you know, on the fourth day, God created the vegetation, the sun. And God created the vegetation on the third day, and God created the sun and the luminaries on the fourth day. So God created the sun and the luminaries on the fourth day. That's in Genesis chapter 1, verse number 6. And God created the vegetation, the plants and stuff on the third day. But if you look at Genesis chapter 2, verse number 5, it says no plant had sprung up yet. But already we found in Genesis chapter 1, verse number 6 that the plants had been there. So it's a contradiction if you just turn the page of the Bible. So much so that William Lane Craig said about this, that it's as if the author of the Bible didn't care if there was a contradiction in there. That's how embarrassing it was that even one of the notorious preachers and scholars of Christianity of the 21st century had to admit there's a contradiction, and he said this, as if he doesn't care. Origen of Alexandria, who wrote on First Principles, one of the biggest ecumenical church fathers, said, what man of education will believe in this kind of thing? And this is one of the biggest scholars in the early days of Christianity. So contradictions are there in the Bible, the Old Testament, the New Testament, everywhere else. And it's very easy to see.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have a comment. I mean, I grew up in a way, in a Catholic, school. So it's what we believe in, and that's what we were taught.
I know you grew up at school. You have been told that stuff, right? So what if it's not true? And you just believe and live your life, making money, get married, making baby, and die. And when you get there, you have been told something, and there is something else.
I mean, there's nothing I can do now after that, right?
So you gotta find out here. There is a book named Quran. Just read that. This book is claiming that I'm from God. And I'm telling you right now,
When you will go there, you will tell God, "Oh God, nobody has been told me." But I'm telling you right now, you will not have this kind of claim there.
this is my point.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, being recorded. So I have a social media stuff. Do you allow me to? Sure. All right.